You might be thinking your success is being blocked by something outside of your control. Maybe you don't have enough money or the right connections, or maybe you're just in the wrong industry. But what if I told you the real obstacle is much, much closer to home? Let's dive in, because the thing that's truly holding you back, it isn't external at all. So let's just ask the question directly. What is the real roadblock? Seriously, it's not the economy, it's not your boss, it's not even your upbringing. The single biggest thing standing in your way is sitting right between your ears. And there it is, the toxic ego. The best way to think about it is like a defense mechanism. It's a shield that you unconsciously use to protect yourself from the harsh reality of your own shortcomings. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the 5 most common, most destructive forms of this ego, and, way more importantly, how you can absolutely shatter them. All right, let's start with the first 2. These are all about pointing fingers outwards and puffing your chest out, all so you don't have to look inwards. First up is the blame ego. This is that little voice that says it's the government's fault, the economy's fault, maybe even your parents' fault that you're broke and struggling. It's just a constant cycle of excuses that completely strips you of your power. I mean, think about it. When everything is someone else's fault, you have zero ability to change anything. But here's a simple, brutal truth you've got to remember. Every single time you point one finger out at someone else, you've got 3 fingers pointing right back at yourself. The solution, the only solution, starts when you stop playing the victim, drop the excuses, and take extreme, radical, personal accountability. Next up, ego number 2, the know-it-all. When you're struggling, it's weirdly easy to think you already have all the answers. But this ego, man, it shuts down your greatest asset, your ability to learn. It keeps you stuck, believing that your way is the only way, even when it is so clearly not working. And this brings us to that famous quote, right? This is the very definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. The know-it-all ego traps you in a loop of failure. The only way out? You gotta drop the pride. The truth is, the more you really know, the more you realize you don't know anything at all. Become a constant student. Okay, now we're gonna pivot to the next 2 egos. These aren't so much about blaming other people, but they're all about protecting yourself from discomfort and, of course, the judgment of others. The comfort zone ego is so sneaky. It's that quiet little voice that whispers, everything is fine, that you're content right where you are, and that all that ambition stuff is just unnecessary. It feels safe, doesn't it? But it's incredibly dangerous, because when you are not growing, you are actively dying. Complacency is the absolute enemy of progress. Now here's a concept that is a total game changer. Your income zone is directly 100% tied to your comfort zone. If you want to level up your finances, your career, your entire life, you have to get uncomfortable, period. Real growth only ever happens at the edge of what feels safe. Next, let's talk about the people-pleasing ego. This is that deep-seated fear of rocking the boat. You're so focused on making sure your friends and your family are happy that you constantly put your own goals on the back burner. But let me ask you a serious question. What about you? What about your ambitions? The oxygen mask rule from airplanes is the perfect metaphor here. You cannot effectively help anyone else if you've already passed out from a lack of oxygen. You have to secure your own mask first. I know, it might feel selfish now to focus on your own goals, but building your own resources is what allows you to be truly, genuinely generous later on. And finally, the 5th ego. Oh man, this one is paralyzing for so many people, the fear of other people's opinions. It's that constant, nagging worry about what your friends, your family, or some old classmates you haven't seen in 10 years will think. You know what you need to do, but the fear of their judgment just stops you dead in your tracks. Let's get one thing straight. The second you start chasing success, haters will appear. It's just inevitable. It's like a law of physics. But you have to remember this. Their opinions add 0, and I mean 0, value to your life. Trolls and critics aren't paying your bills. They're not building your future. Your goals are infinitely more important than their judgment. So, there we have it. We've identified the 5 enemies. Now, let's put it all together and consolidate the battle plan. This is your path forward. So how do you actually fight back? Well, it really comes down to these 5 simple actions. Number 1, take extreme accountability. No more excuses. 2, become a constant learner. Stay humble, stay curious. 3, get uncomfortable daily. That is where all the growth lives. 4, put your own goals first. Secure your own mask. And number 5, you gotta ignore meaningless opinions. This right here, This is your roadmap.
We've talked through all the problems and all the solutions. But look, knowledge is only half the battle. Now comes the most important part, the only part that actually matters.
And this right here is the bottom line. You can understand these egos, you can have these huge, amazing dreams, but none of it matters without action. It's time to stop making excuses and start executing. You have to take absolute control of your destiny, and you have to start today.
So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. I want you to take a hard look in the mirror and be brutally honest with yourself. Which one of these 5 egos is holding you back the most? Identify it and make a decision right now in this moment to start shattering it today.